The rain hammered the roof of our old Victorian in Portland like it was trying to drown out the secrets we'd buried for years. I burst through the front door, soaked to the bone, my backpack slamming against the wall as I screamed, "I can't do this anymore. You lied to me about everything." Mom Elena froze in the kitchen doorway, her apron dusted with flour from the pie she'd been baking to fix things, while the other one, Sarah, just stared from the couch, her face crumpling like wet paper. That scream hung in the air thicker than the Oregon mist outside, pulling us all into the eye of a storm we'd pretended wasn't brewing. It was the night Mackenzie turned 18. The night she came home from her shift at the coffee shop with fire in her green eyes and a rainbow pin stabbed through the collar of her hoodie like a declaration of war. We'd adopted her as a squalling infant from a crisis center in Seattle, back when Sarah and I were still riding the high of our commitment ceremony, two women in our 30s, defying the Bible Belt echoes of our upbringings to build something real in the Pacific Northwest. Portland suited us. All flannel shirts and food carts, where queer families like ours blended into the kaleidoscope without a second glance. Or so we'd thought. Mackenzie Kinsey, as we called her, had always been our wild card. From the toddler days when she'd climb the backyard maple like a feral cat, to the teen years of slamming doors over curfews and sneaking out to underground shows, she was the pulse that kept our quiet life from going stale. Sarah, with her architect's precision and those hazel eyes that could blueprint a bridge or break your heart, handled the structure, soccer practices, college apps, the firm hand that steered Kinsey toward stability. I was the soft landing Elena, the artist-turned-elementary school teacher, with my curls always in a messy bun and paint under my nails from weekend watercolors. We balanced each other. Or at least that's what we told ourselves after the rough patches. But that birthday night, as thunder rattled the windows, Kinsey didn't blow out candles. She dropped her bomb instead. We were in the living room, fairy lights strung over the mantel flickering like hesitant stars, a chocolate cake sweating on the coffee table. Sarah had just uncorked the sparkling cider. "To our girl. Legal and launching," she toasted, when Kinsey shoved her chair back, the legs screeching against the floorboards. "I'm gay," she said, voice cracking like thin ice. Not a question. Not a plea, just fact. Hurled like a grenade. Her hands trembled on the table edge, knuckles white, those freckles standing out stark against flushed cheeks. 18 years old. All limbs in fire. Her short auburn hair still damp from the rain, sticking to her forehead in defiant spikes. Sarah's glass hit the table with a clink too sharp, cider sloshing over the rim. Her face went blank, that architect's mask slipping for a split second, eyes widening, lips parting as if I just handed her blueprints for a building that wouldn't stand. I reached for Kinsey's hand, my heart swelling with that fierce, protective love that had carried us through colic nights and first crushes on boys who never stuck. "Baby," I whispered, squeezing her fingers, cool and clammy in mine. "We love you. Always. But Sarah." Sarah stayed silent too long. The room pulsed with it, the unspoken weight of her southern roots creeping back. Atlanta girl who'd fled her preacher father's sermons at 17, only to carry the guilt like a shadow. I'd seen it flicker before. In quiet moments when she'd scroll past pride posts on her phone, her thumb hovering like she might delete them. Now, it bloomed full ugly, her jaw tightening, eyes darting to the family portrait above the fireplace, the three of us grinning at the coast last summer, wind-whipped and whole. "Kins," Sarah finally said, voice low, measured, like she was calculating load-bearing walls. "This It's a phase, right? College is coming. You'll meet people. Figure it out. She forced a smile. Brittle as autumn leaves. But it cracked when Kinsey recoiled, yanking her hand from mine like I'd burned her. A phase. Kinsey laughed. Bitter and raw. Echoing off the exposed brick walls. Like how you phased through that affair with Lisa back when I was 10. Don't bullshit me. Mom. I know what hiding looks like. The air sucked out of the room. Sarah's face drained to ash. Her hands fisting in her lap. I felt it like a gut punch. Lisa, the junior associate at Sarah's firm. All sharp suits and sharper ambition. The affair that had nearly torched us. Late nights at the office. Lipstick on collars that weren't mine. The night Sarah confessed in our bed. Sobbing that it was the pressure. The fear of forever with a woman in a world that still whispered sin. We clawed back from it, therapy in those beige rooms downtown. Weekends at the coast rebuilding sandcastles of trust. Adopted Kinsey tighter after that. Like she was the glue. But we'd never told her the full story. Not the details. Anyway. Just that Mommy and Mama had a rough patch. How did she know? The question burned. But Kinsey was already storming upstairs. Footsteps thundering like accusations. Sarah buried her face in her hands. Shoulders shaking, not with sobs. But something quieter. More dangerous. Defeat. I slid next to her. Wrapping my arms around her rigid frame. Inhaling the familiar scent of her lavender shampoo, mixed with the sharp tang of betrayal unearthed. She heard us fighting that night, I murmured. Piecing it together. The night after Sarah ended it with Lisa. Voices raised in the kitchen while Kinsey pretended to sleep. Kids hear everything, they just wait to weaponize it. There. The door slammed again. I climbed the creaky stairs. Past the gallery wall of her life. Baby Kinsey in my arms at the adoption hearing. Her first bike wobbling down our street. Prom photos where she'd worn a tux instead of a gown. Smirking at the camera like she owned the rebellion. Her room was a chaos of posters, riot girl bands, protest signs from the women's march we dragged her to at 13. A pride flag thumbtacked crookedly over the window. She was curled on the bed, knees to chest, rocking slightly, that rainbow pin glinting like a badge of honor. I sat on the edge, careful not to crowd her. Talk to me. Firecracker. It was our old nickname. From the 4th of July when she'd lit sparklers too close to the fence and singed half the yard. She uncurled just enough to glare. Eyes red-rimmed but fierce. Why'd you stay? She demanded. Voice muffled against her knees. After she cheated. You could have left. Built something real without the lies. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Tracing the quilt my mother had sewn, ironic. Given how she'd disowned me for loving Sarah. Because love isn't clean. Kinsey. It's messy as hell. Sarah and I. We chose each other every day after. Fought for it. And you're the best part of that fight. She sniffed, wiping her nose on her sleeve. I'm scared. Mama. What if I fall for someone and it wrecks me like that? What if I'm just broken for it? I pulled her into my lap then. Like she was 5 again and the world was just scraped knees. You're not broken. Baby. You're brave. And we'll get through this, all of us. She melted against me. Sobs shaking us both. The rain outside softening to a patter. Like it was eavesdropping on our fragile peace. Downstairs, Sarah had cleaned up the cider spill. Methodical as always. But her eyes when I came down alone were haunted. I screwed up, she whispered. Pulling me close in the dim kitchen light. Pushed her away when she needed me most. "We'll fix it," I said, kissing her temple, tasting salt. Like always. But as I lay awake that night, Sarah's breathing even beside me, I wondered if always was a promise we could keep. Kenzie's truth had cracked us open, and in the fissures, old ghosts stirred. Little did I know, the real storm was just cresting, bringing betrayal sharper than any we'd survived, and a love that would either bind us or burn us down. The weeks that followed were a tightrope walk over Portland's foggy streets. Kenzie threw herself into community college applications, graphic design, her passion since she doodled queer icons on her sketchbooks in middle school. She started volunteering at the local LGBTQ center, coming home with stories of kids younger than her, out and proud in ways she'd only dreamed. Sarah and I watched from the sidelines, tiptoeing around the landmine of that birthday fight. Family therapy was Sarah's idea. Ramirez, a no-nonsense Latina with a laugh like warm chai, who made us unpack the Lisa bomb in sessions that left us raw but closer. One crisp October afternoon, Kenzie brought Jordan home. Jordan Reyes, teen like her, with long black hair braided with colorful threads, olive skin glowing under the autumn sun, and eyes like polished obsidian that seemed to see straight through you. An artist, sculpture major at Reed College, her backpack bulging with clay-smeared tools. They met at the center. Jordan was facilitating a teen art workshop on identity. Kenzie described her in hushed tones over breakfast. "She's got this energy, like she could rewrite the stars or something." When they walked in hand, laughing about a botched latte art fail, my heart did that maternal flip, pride laced with terror. Sarah was in the garage, tinkering with her latest model, a sustainable tiny home design, when they breezed through. "Moms, this is Jordan," Kenzie announced, chin lifted, daring us to flinch. Jordan extended a hand, callous from chisels, her smile easy and warm. "Heard so much about you. Kenzie says you're the ones who taught her how to fight for what's real," Sarah emerged, wiping grease from her hands, and something flickered in her eyes, appraisal. Maybe envy. She shook Jordan's hand firmly. "Welcome. Pizza's on us tonight." It was progress. Or so it seemed. Dinner was a revelation. Jordan's stories of growing up in East LA, dodging machismo expectations in a family of welders, her coming out at 15 sparking a chain reaction that mended old rifts. Kenzie hung on every word, her foot nudging Jordan's under the table, sparks flying brighter than the candles I'd lit for ambience. As they washed dishes side by side, giggles bubbling up like soap suds, Sarah pulled me onto the porch swing. The air smelled of wet leaves and distant wood smoke, the city lights twinkling like hesitant allies. "She's good for her," Sarah murmured, her head on my shoulder. "Reminds me of us young. Unstoppable." I squeezed her hand, the one with the faint scar from our first road trip, when we'd crashed a motel in Reno and vowed forever. "Yeah. But it's scary. Isn't it?" Letting her leap. Sarah nodded, but her grip tightened, a shadow crossing her face. "What if she gets hurt? What if it's like..." She trailed off. But I knew, like Lisa. Like the betrayal that had carved canyons in us. We didn't see the fracture coming, not until Thanksgiving, when Jordan's ex crashed the party like a wrecking ball. Thanksgiving in Portland was never the Norman Rockwell fantasy, more like a hipster fever dream of quinoa-stuffed pumpkins and vegan turkey from the co-op. But that year, with Jordan woven into our tapestry, felt electric, alive. We'd set an extra place at the oak table Sarah had built herself. Heirloom crystal glinting under strings of Edison bulbs. Kinsey was radiant. Her hoodie swapped for a button-up with subtle rainbow stitching. Jordan beside her in a thrifted velvet dress that hugged her curves like a second skin. The centerpieces were Jordan's doing. Tiny clay figures of fierce women warriors. Each one a nod to the stories they'd shared late into the night. Sarah and I played hosts on autopilot, me basting the tofurkey. Her carving the real bird for the neighbors who dropped by with pies. Laughter flowed easy. Tales of Kinsey's disastrous high school bake sale, where her experimental brownies turned out laced with too much cayenne, sending half the soccer team to the nurse. Jordan fit like she'd always been there. Her hand brushing Kinsey's thigh under the table, eliciting blushes that made my chest ache with joy. This was it. I thought, the humanistic heart of us. Two moms who'd fought for scraps of normalcy now witnessing their daughter claim her own feast. Then the doorbell rang. Sharp as a fault line cracking. Kinsey hopped up. "I'll get it." And the room tilted when she returned. Arm in arm with a stranger. Not a stranger. Exactly, Riley. Jordan's ex. Funny. All sharp edges and sharper eyeliner. With a buzz cut dyed electric blue and tattoos snaking up her neck like barbed wire. She sauntered in like she owned the place. Doc Martens thudding on the Persian rug. A bottle of cheap Merlot dangling from tattooed fingers. Rye. Jordan's voice was a whisper knife. Her obsidian eyes flashing confusion. Then fury. "What the hell are you doing here?" Riley grinned. Wolfish. Ignoring the tension coiling around the table like smoke. "Heard through the grapevine you were playing house in Stumptown. Figured I'd crash. See if Portland softened you up." Her gaze slid to Kinsey. Praising. Lingering too long on the way their hands linked. "This the new flavor? Cute. You always did go for the tomboys." The air thickened. Forks clattering silent. Sarah's face hardened. Her napkin twisting in her lap. A tell from our early days. When stress made her hands itch for blueprints. I shot her a look steady. "We got this," but Kinsey was already bristling. Stepping forward like a shield. "You need to leave. Now." Riley laughed. Low and mocking. Popping the Merlot cork with her teeth. "Ah. Protective already? Jordan. Babe. Tell Red here how we used to play that game. The one where I'd whisper all my secrets in your ear at 3 a.m. Then ghost you for weeks." She poured a splash into a water glass. Defiant. "Spoiler, I always came back. Because you let me." Jordan's chair scraped back. Her face ashen. "That was then. We're done. Get out." But Riley didn't budge. Leaning against the buffet. Eyes locked on Jordan like a predator scenting blood. The room pulsed with it. The raw underbelly of love turned toxic. The betrayal of boundaries crossed without a backward glance. It escalated fast. A powder keg lit by Riley's barbs. "You think this kid's got what it takes?" She sneered at Kinsey. Jerking her chin. "She'll chew you up. Spit you out. Just like she did me, promising forever. Then bailing when her folks flipped. Lies. Half-truths twisted like kudzu. But they landed like shrapnel." Jordan flinched. Tears welling. And Kinsey, our fierce girl, lunged, shoving Riley hard enough to slosh wine across the tablecloth. "Get the fuck out," Kinsey roared. Voice breaking on the edge of hysteria. Sarah was up in a flash. Gripping Riley's arm with architect's strength. Marching her toward the door amid protests and curses. I herded Jordan to the couch. Her body shaking as sobs tore free. "She followed me here," Jordan gasped. burying her face in my shoulder, strange. This young woman unraveling in my arms like another daughter. Texted once. I blocked her. I thought it was over. Kinsey stormed back from seeing Riley off. Face thunderous. But when she saw Jordan curled small, velvet dress rumpled, something fractured in her. She dropped to her knees, gathering Jordan close, murmuring apologies that weren't hers to give.
I'm sorry, Kenzie whispered.
Rocking her. I should have known. Should have protected you. We left them like that. Sarah and I retreating to the kitchen under pretense of coffee. The cleanup was mechanical, scraping plates, wiping spills, but the silence between us hummed with echoes. That could have been us, Sarah said finally, scrubbing a stubborn wine stain with vicious strokes. Me. Showing up like a ghost. Ruining it all over again. I turned off the faucet, drying my hands on a towel that smelled faintly of sage from the stuffing. But you didn't. You chose us, me. Kinsey. Every day since. I pulled her into a hug, her body stiff at first, then yielding, the way it always did when guilt gnawed too deep. Outside, the rain had picked up again, drumming the windows like impatient fingers. That night, after Jordan went home insisting on space, though Kinsey begged her to stay, the house felt hollow. Echoes of Riley's laugh lingering like cigarette smoke. Kinsey paced her room. Phone clutched like a lifeline. Texts flying unanswered. By midnight, she was at our door, slipping into our bed like she hadn't since she was 12 and scared of storms. What if Jordan thinks I'm weak? She mumbled into the pillow. Sarah's arm draped over her protectively. Like I can't handle her baggage? You're stronger than you know, Sarah murmured, voice rough with unshed tears. It was the first time she'd held Kinsey since the birthday blowout. A bridge rebuilt in the dark. I lay on her other side, sandwiching our girl between us, the three of us breathing in sync as thunder grumbled farewell. But the real betrayal brewed slower, insidious as fog rolling off the Willamette. It started with Sarah's late nights at the office, deadlines, she said, for a big eco project that could land her a promotion. I trusted her. The scars from Lisa had faded to silver threads, our love tempered like steel. Kinsey, though, was watchful. Her artist's eye-catching shadows I missed. The way Sarah's phone buzzed silenced now. The faint perfume clinging to her collars, citrus, not her usual lavender. Jordan came around more after Thanksgiving. Her presence a bomb. They'd hole up in Kinsey's room, sketching designs for a joint exhibit at the center, portraits of queer elders, stories etched in charcoal and clay. I'd eavesdrop from the hall, their whispers laced with that new love magic, plans for road trips to the Badlands, dreams of galleries in New York. It made me remember Sarah and me at their age, hitchhiking from Atlanta to San Francisco, sleeping under stars, fucking in cheap motels with the door unlocked because who cared? Youth was reckless poetry. We'd been its scribes. One February evening, snow dusting the evergreens like powdered sugar. I came home early from parent-teacher conferences to find the house empty, Kinsey at a shift, Sarah at work. But her office bag slumped by the door.
Laptop glowing file.
Curiosity tugged. Guilt followed. I flipped it open, intending just a quick peek at the calendar. Our anniversary loomed. Maybe a surprise trip. Instead, emails bloomed. Threads with LM. Lisa fucking Matthews. My stomach plummeted. Dates back months. Innocuous at first. Consult on the green build? Then warmer. Coffee? For old times. Photos attached. Lisa at a conference. Still sharp-suited. Her smile a hook. Sarah's replies. Miss our talks. Can't stop thinking about that night in '09. The affair reignited. Stealthy as embers under ash. Hotel receipts bookmarked. A confirmation for a business trip to Seattle next week, our adoption city. Salt in the wound. Betrayal hit like vertigo. The room spinning. I slammed the laptop shut, bile rising, and stumbled to the kitchen for whiskey, Sarah's bottle. Irony biting deep. How long? Why now? When Kinsey needed us solid, tears came hot and unbidden. Soaking the granite counter where we'd carved our initials drunk on cider the day we moved in. Kinsey found me there. Bursting through the door with grocery bags, ingredients for Jordan's favorite tamales, a peace offering after a spat over Riley's latest Instagram taunt. Mama? What's? Her eyes widened. Bags thudding to the floor as she saw my face. The bottle. She knelt, prying it from my fingers. Talk. Now. The confession spilled out in fragments, the emails, the lies, the echo of history devouring us again. Kinsey's face cycled through shock, rage, grief mirroring that birthday night. But deeper. A daughter's disillusionment. Not again, she whispered, hugging me fierce. We can't let her break us. Not when Jordan and I. We're just starting. She helped me to bed, tucking me in like I was the child, then confronted Sarah that night. I heard it from upstairs, the front door slamming, voices rising in the driveway under sodium streetlights. How could you? Kinsey's cry pierced the night. After everything, Lisa again? You're poisoning it all. Sarah's pleas. It's not what you think, closure. Elena deserves. Bullshit. You're running scared because Kinsey's happy. Because seeing her love makes you face what you wrecked. Kinsey's words. Venom-tipped arrows. Then silence. Broken by Sarah's sob. Raw and animal. By morning, Sarah was gone, checked into a hotel downtown. Her note on the counter. Need space to fix this. I love you both. Got.
I'm sorry.
Kinsey and I clung together over coffee, the house echoing with absence. Jordan arrived soon after, her arms full of art supplies and quiet strength, drawing us into a huddle on the couch. Families bend, she said, her hand in Kinsey's. They don't have to break, but as winter deepened, the bend threatened to snap. Kinsey threw herself into her exhibit, but shadows lingered in her sketches, fractured figures, lovers turning away. I taught my classes on autopilot, smiles painted thin. And Sarah. Her silence stretched, texts unread, voicemails pleading for a chance to explain. The climax crashed in March. At the center's opening night, a gallery crammed with Portland's queer heart, drag queens in sequins, elders with canes and stories. Kids like Kinsey once was, wide-eyed and hopeful. Jordan's sculptures anchored the space. Fierce clay women entwined. Kinsey's portraits hung beside. Faces alive with color and pain. The crowd buzzed, flashes popping. Murmurs of awe, but I felt Sarah's absence like a phantom limb. Then she appeared, slipping through the door like a ghost in a trench coat. Hair disheveled, eyes hollowed by weeks of unraveling. Kinsey spotted her first, freezing mid-laugh with Jordan, palette knife clattering from her hand. The room narrowed to us for me weaving through patrons, Sarah's gaze locking on mine, apology raw in the lines of her face. Kins, she started, voice trembling. I came to. You came to what? Watch it burn again. Kinsey's shout cut through the chatter. Heads turning. Jordan stepped forward, hand on her arm, but Kinsey shook her off, advancing like fury incarnate. You betrayed Mama. Betrayed us. For what? Some ghost fuck who left you empty. Sarah recoiled, but held ground, tears carving tracks down her cheeks. I was scared. Okay, seeing you with Jordan, it was beautiful. Everything we lost. Lisa was a crutch. Stupid. Selfish. But I ended it. Checked out to face myself. Not run. She turned to me, voice breaking. Elena. I chose wrong. Again. But I choose you now. If you'll have me. The gallery hushed. A collective breath held. Kinsey's chest heaved. Green eyes stormy. Fists clenched at her sides. Jordan whispered something. Breathe. Amor. And it cracked her. You heard us, Kinsey choked out. Made me think love was a lie. Sarah nodded. Crumpling. I know. And I'll spend forever making it right. But don't let my fuck-up steal your truth. She opened her coat, revealing a small canvas, my style. Curls and all, Kinsey and Jordan as warriors, entwined under a Portland sky. I painted it. In therapy. To remember why we fight. The canvas trembled in Sarah's hands. Paint still tacky in places. The colors bleeding raw emotion. Kinsey's auburn spikes fierce against Jordan's braided crown. Their figures locked in a dance of defiance and desire. Portland's bridges arching behind like veins of steel resolve. It was clumsy. Unarchitect-like. But honest. Sarah's apology etched in ochre and indigo. The gallery crowd shifted awkwardly. Murmurs rippling. But in that suspended heartbeat, it was just us. Family stripped to sinew and soul. Kinsey stared. Breath hitching. Then lunged, not in anger, but collapse, burying her face in Sarah's chest as sobs racked her. I hate you, she gasped between heaves. But I need you. We all do. Sarah's arms folded around her, coat slipping to the floor. And I joined them. Our triad enfolding like roots seeking soil after drought. Jordan hovered, then stepped in. Her warmth sealing the circle. 4 women. Battered but unbroken. Under the harsh fluorescent glow that softened to something sacred. The exhibit's chaos resumed around us. Applause for a spoken word piece. Clinks of wine glasses. But we lingered in our huddle. Tears mingling on cheeks. Dear. Ramirez was there, had been all along. Sipping Chardonnay by the sculptures, and caught my eye with a nod. Her smile saying what words couldn't. Progress. Messy and miraculous. Later. Over cheap Merlot in the back room. We unpacked it. Sarah's spiral. Triggered by Kinsey's joy mirroring our buried youth. The fear that happiness was fragile. Prone to fracture. I thought if I could just recapture that spark with Lisa. Without the mess, Sarah confessed. Voice hoarse. It'd make me worthy again. Stupid calculus. Kinsey snorted, wiping her eyes on a napkin. You're worthy because you showed up. That's the math. Jordan squeezed her hand, pride shining in those obsidian depths. And for the first time, I saw it fully. Their love as its own entity. Fierce and fledgling. Echoing ours without the scars. Spring unfurled in Portland like a hesitant bloom. Cherry blossoms dusting the streets. The Willamette swelling with meltwater dreams. Sarah moved back home after a tearful weekend retreat. Couples therapy intensified. Individual sessions for her shadows. The house breathed again. Filled with tentative rituals. Sunday brunches with Jordan's abuelas via Zoom. their Spanglish peppered with media endearments. Game nights where Sarah's competitive streak clashed hilariously with Kinsey's trash talk. Betrayal's ghost didn't vanish. It lingered in quiet moments. A reminder to check in. To choose words like lifelines. But it fueled us. Too. Turning pain into purpose. Kinsey and Jordan's exhibit drew crowds. Reviews in the Willamette Week calling it a queer odyssey of resilience. Their first real date post-drama was a picnic at Forest Park, blankets spread under alders, wild strawberries pilfered from the path. Jordan sketching Kinsey's profile as sunlight dappled her freckles. "You're my anchor," Jordan whispered later. Over stolen kisses in the ferns. Kinsey texted me the photo. Their hands laced. Rings glinting, promise bands. Cheap silver but heavy with intent. I showed Sarah that night. As we soaked in the clawfoot tub. Bubbles foaming like unspoken fears. "Look at them," I said. Phone screen glowing between us. We did that, gave her the guts to grab it. Sarah traced the photo with a soapy finger. Her hazel eyes soft. "We almost lost it." "Me?" "Mostly." She leaned her head on my shoulder. Water sloshing gently. "But you never wavered." "Elena. You're the North Star." Turn. Kissing her slow and deep. Tasting salt and suds in 18 years of storms weathered. "We're the constellation." All of us. Love. I realized then. Wasn't the absence of betrayal. It was the stubborn return. The choice to rebuild loftier each time. By summer, the fractures had mended into something stronger. Mosaic-like. Kinsey deferred Reed for a gap year. Interning at the center. Her sketches evolving into murals splashed across East Side walls. Women of all hues. Loving fierce against backdrops of roses and rain. Jordan joined her. Their hands clay-flecked and intertwined. Planning a zine of survivor stories. Sarah's promotion came through. A lead on sustainable housing. Her designs now incorporating family pods, inspired by our chaos. Flexible spaces for bending. Not breaking. One August evening. As crickets chorused in the backyard. We gathered for Kinsey's delayed birthday redo. No cake. Just a bonfire pit crackling with marshmallows and memories. Jordan had carved wooden pendants for us all, interlocking hearts. Queer symbols etched deep. "For the family that fights," she toasted. Her voice steady. Riley long banished to block numbers and blocked histories. Kinsey stood then. Firelight dancing in her green eyes. Pulling Jordan close. "To truths that change us," she said. Glancing at Sarah and me. A nod heavy with forgiveness. "And to the loves that stick. No matter the burn." We clinked bottles, cider for Kinsey. Wine for the rest. And as flames licked the stars. Sarah slipped her hand into mine. Her thumb tracing the callus from years of holding on. "We made it," she murmured. Voice thick. "Yeah," I replied. Leaning into her warmth. "And we're just getting started." In the end, Kinsey's coming out wasn't the end of our family. It was the forge. It melted down the lies. The fears. The old wounds. Recasting us into something luminous. Unapologetic. Portland's rains would fall again. Sure, life's rhythm demands it, but we'd learn to dance in the downpour. Arms linked. Hearts open. Because in America, where rainbows wave from porches and pride parades clog the streets, love isn't a fairy tale. It's the gritty, glorious fight. And ours? It was just hitting its stride. Epilogue whispers 2 years on. Kinsey and Jordan's wedding was a backyard affair. Roses climbing the fence. Abuelas dancing with drag ants. Sarah walking Kinsey down the aisle of strung lights. her eyes dry but shining. I read vows from our old journal. Words scribbled in Reno. In mess and magic. Forever. And as they kissed under the maple, the same one Kenzie once conquered, Sarah squeezed my hand, whispering, "Our girl's truth saved us." Humanistic. Yeah. But damn if it wasn't earned.